Good evening, America. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the latest edition of Just the News, No Noise. I'm your host, John Solomon, reporting to you, as always, from our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., where the streets are starting to look a little more patrolled. That's right. President Trump's effort to federalize law enforcement already having a major effect. Hundreds of suspects, many of them people with guns that shouldn't have been on the street with guns, being rounded up right now, and some unexpected praise for President Trump. The D.C. Metropolitan Police Chief, after just a couple days of being under the supervision of the Trump administration, praising the FBI and the Justice Department for the early successes that have been racked up. And then later today, we learned, just a few hours after the police chief's kind words, we learned that the Metropolitan Police Department, for the first time in a long time, is going to cooperate with ICE and help in rounding up illegal aliens who may be on the streets of the nation's capital. Two major victories and a sign that all the fear-mongering that went into the announcement by President Trump is actually maybe playing out to the benefit of the city. People are really starting to get excited. Meanwhile, lots of reaction to the big three stories we broke on this story this week. The stories about the whistleblower identifying Adam Schiff as a leaker. The story about the associate of James Comey who acknowledged he was talking to reporters after getting classified information. And then, of course, the bombshell last night we dropped here that the FBI had 3 investigations of Hillary Clinton on corruption related to her foundation and was thwarted at every step, including being told by Obama's Deputy Attorney General, shut it down. I'm going to remember those words for a long time. Just some of the stories we're tracking today. One more, because it's a direct impact for things that we did on this show just a few short weeks ago. Remember, we did a whole conversation, a whole hour, educating you on the very dangerous critical condition of our drug supply chain. We don't make and we don't have access to a lot of the ingredients that go into basic antibiotics, antivirals, antiseptics, and pain medicines. Because China has cornered the market and we've allowed them to do it. Last night, President Trump leaned right into that issue, signing the first executive order to address the pharmacy supply chain crisis in America in a very long time, laying out several things, some of which Jay Bhattacharya, the NIH director, hinted at in our show just a couple of weeks ago. But real impact. We identify a problem here, government jumps in, and now we got the beginning of a process. Now, we know it's a long process. Remember what the guest told us. It could take 10 years to get it right. But it had to start somewhere, and it started last night. With that, I'll bring in my amazing co-host, Amanda Head, for more headlines. Amanda, I know you're watching some things, including, do we have a mayor on the lam here in Washington, D.C.?
Yes, indeed. D.C.'s Mayor Muriel Bowser apparently is island hopping on Martha's Vineyard. How nice for her to be able to spend August while her city is going through a let's say a gentle revamping. I am very impressed to see the progress that is already being made and the arrests, including a sandwich throwing perpetrator tossing what looks to be like a Subway sandwich in the face of law enforcement. Absolutely unbelievable. And John,
and wasn't that a Justice Department employee, right? It was a Justice Department employee, right? Pam Bondi fired that person, I believe, today. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes. And I'm glad to see that. But speaking of pushback, and, you know, sometimes I like to get into the cultural things, and we applauded 3 different companies a few weeks ago for not caving to the woke mob. That was American Eagle, Arby's, and Dunkin' Donuts. Well, there is a makeup brand called Elf Makeup. It's sold at stores like Target. And they featured an ad with comedian Matt Rife. Well, they are now apologizing for having him in the ad because apparently back in 2023, he made a joke during his stand-up routine about domestic violence. And while domestic violence, of course, is nothing to laugh at, I do think that there should be a statute of limitations on these types of things that should preclude banning him from ads. But nonetheless, they apologize. So maybe that cultural message is not quite 100% success rate as of yet, but we're moving in that direction. But John, I am so excited to talk about the story that you put out last night. Absolute bombshell. Shut it down. I'm with you. I'm not going to forget those words anytime soon.
Yeah, it's just so amazing to think that President Trump in 2016 was chanting, lock her up. Turns out the FBI had some evidence that they might have been moving in that direction, and then the order came to shut it down. And I think that that dynamic plays out over and over again. It started with the Hunter Biden case in 2019, and of course with the Joe Biden classified documents. Each time a Democrat was in peril, the machinery turned towards the Republican and tried to create some sort of an investigation to take the attention off them. That's at the heart of that grand jury investigation. By the way, Amanda today confirmed from multiple witnesses who've had contacts, there are multiple grand juries now in action in middle America, not in Washington, D.C., but in places like Pennsylvania, in Virginia, in New York, where grand jurors are beginning to gather evidence in these very important parts of the strike force investigation into the grand conspiracy. We'll talk more about that as we learn about more of it. But we got the perfect guest to kick us off. So anytime we want to get the right take on what really is going on in law enforcement and FBI, we turn to this incredible former FBI executive. He's a former executive assistant director of the FBI and the author of one of my favorite books in the last decade, Wanted. The FBI Wants New. I think we all want that FBI back. Joining us right now, retired agent Chris Payne. Chris, good to have you on.
John, pleasure to be with you and Amanda tonight.
All right. I know there's a lot to cover. There's been a lot of moving parts. I want to start with this timeline that we were able to get our hands on yesterday. The FBI director, Kash Patel, found it recently. There are some whistleblowers that are also cooperating with the Justice Department. You've got a timeline where every time 3 separate field offices, each with career agents, one had a fully predicated criminal probe, 2 had preliminaries, they got shut down. The leaders in Washington said, you will not do this, shut it down. That was Sally Yates. The deputy director, McCabe, said, you don't do anything unless I approve it. And when they went to prosecutors to get the normal help you get, grand jury subpoenas, search warrants, every one of the prosecutors except the Little Rock office turned their back and said, you can move on, but we're not going to help you in any way. Is that a normal process? Have you ever seen something like this in the FBI before?
No, it's a kind of extraordinary when you have that type of resistance in the justice system to investigate, or not to charge, not to indict, but just to investigate a situation. And I think, what you had was 3 separate field offices with predicating information. That alone should have provided adequate interest. But you saw at the level of Department of Justice attention that the declination was provided. And then again, the deputy director of the FBI at the time, put some brakes on the investigative effort. So it chilled the environment, and everybody is fully aware of the type of sensitivity there is in making that type of investigative action. And, we saw how the whole thing kind of died on the vine.
Yeah.
So you have one person at the Department of Justice, Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates, and one person, Deputy Director at the FBI, Andy McCabe. So one person at each of these organizations, and they were able to shut this down. Shouldn't there be some type of mechanism in place that prevents people at the top from being able to thwart the work of what I can only estimate is probably dozens of agents?
Well, the problem was the folks at the top are supposed to be the ones that keep the machine and the system running properly. And what we had was folks at the top who substituted their own political or ideological positions inside of the FBI's mission space to stall or eventually close those investigations. So we can put all the systems we want in place, but if the folks who are in charge at those high executive levels are willing to use the system in what I consider to be an improper way, it won't matter how many adjustments you make. It's the integrity of the people in the system that keeps the system integrity.
Yeah, that's so well said. I think Reagan once said, people are the policy, and you're right. If you have the right people, it works well. If you have the wrong people, things like this seem to happen. It's a really stark contrast, and I know it's at the heart of your book. I mean, your book, I've read it several times. Everyone should get this book and read it because it explains where the FBI got off course and how they can get back on. But in the same moment, they're shutting down Hillary Clinton 2 investigations, because you got the 3 predicates on the foundation and the 1 on the national security concerns about the emails. They're ramping up an investigation that we now know didn't have a predicate. The idea that the agents and the leadership couldn't see the dichotomy of what they're doing. Let's go after the Republican candidate, even if we don't have a predicate, but let's avoid looking at the Democrat candidate. It had to look pretty awkward to people on the inside of the Bureau who wanted to practice the law with blindness.
A lot of people were shaking their heads. And a lot of folks who had been in the business for a while, they knew that things weren't being done in a proper fashion. And I use this progression of terms: skilled, objective, apolitical, and professional. And that's how the FBI conducts its investigations. And in this instance, as seen by even the special counsel Durham, the FBI departed from many time-honored and true standards, protocols, and practices. And a lot of folks were left with some question marks and again scratching their heads as to what the objectives were. The FBI, I think it created an environment where we had an outcome and then we conducted the investigation to support the outcome, which is kind of a mortal sin of investigative work.
That's a great point.
Sounds kind of like Stalinism too. I want to shift gears to some more incredible reporting by my partner there in the middle of the screen regarding Adam Schiff, then House member, obviously now Senator, and the leaking of classified intelligence. The conversation that we have been having is about some dirty agents, but there are a lot of really, really good people at the FBI who I know want to follow the legal methods of coordinating with people in Congress, like on the Intelligence Committee. I'm a little bit concerned that what we saw with Adam Schiff is going to hinder that communication and that coordination between proper agencies and bodies up on Capitol Hill. Are you concerned that what we saw with Adam Schiff could chill that coordination?
I think you'll see a reluctance in certain instances to share highly sensitive information when there has been behavior in the past that shows that we will selectively leak information. We will take a partisan view of how that information should be used and use it in a way that will be negative toward one party or again at the time President Trump. So what I saw you have almost like a set of political gladiators in a political coliseum with that type of behavior, and it kind of shocks me that our national leadership would engage in that type of what I consider to be low rent, maybe hardball politics. It certainly isn't governing for the benefit of the American people.
Yeah, really well said. There was one other revelation this week, and it kind of gets into the whole leaking thing, but you got James Comey. He ends up bringing in a guy from the outside to help shape his reputation. That's actually what Mr. Richmond said. I was brought in to kind of take care of his broken up relationship or reputation and then start setting future narratives. The FBI is a professional press office. I tell you, I've worked with it for years. It is a very good office. They try to tell the truth. And sometimes they tell you can't tell you things. But when you bring someone outside to go around that press office, is that a red flag to agents or just people who know how the Bureau works?
It's concerning on several levels. And Director Comey had a practice of bringing in his own external confidants on many things. And it kind of froze out some of the senior agent managers where we weren't allowed or we weren't privy to certain instances where we could actually provide counsel against certain courses of action or provide alternatives at least that would be more in line with the FBI's mission and the FBI's operating parameters. So I was surprised that he did that. A lot of folks were also kind of surprised that he took that course of action. It also shows a lack of faith in your own people. So I think that it started that way, and as Director Comey kind of isolated himself on several issues, that was just again disappointing but not surprising course of action.
Yeah. Before we let you go, so let's go from lack of faith to what seems to be lack of support. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser jetting off to Martha's Vineyard while her city is undergoing what we can only hope is a transformation to a more safe city. You've got law enforcement there on the ground who are ramping up their activities, trying to remain even more vigilant, more good guys and good gals on the streets. But she's gone. What does that say to law enforcement there in D.C. that during a crisis like this, the top of the food chain in your city, at least as far as your city is concerned, is bounced off to Martha's Vineyard?
It shows that we're not serious people anymore about these type of things, right? She should have canceled her vacation. She should have stayed to support the efforts of the joint law enforcement, the community, the patrols and everything else. She should have been here to make sure that she was providing adequate backing and partnership for the federal forces. And in this instance, I know the Metro PD has come around a little bit, and they're working with the federal officers, and they're also providing some good positive feedback at this point. But if their leadership doesn't make this a priority, then it's not a priority, and the people of Washington, D.C. should take note of, I would say, this is a kind of an absence of leadership to go on vacation during a time of I'd say light crisis that the federal government had to come in and take over the policing of the city.
Yeah, pretty well. Real quickly, Chris, we just got about 45 seconds left. The legacy of those few years that James Comey was in the FBI, when you look back at it, I know how proud you are to be an FBI agent. What legacy does that era of the FBI leave us?
It led us into an area of doubt, confusion. It tarnished the reputation of the FBI. The word of the FBI was once inviolable, and it is now questioned on every turn. So I think the Director Comey's tenure was not good for the FBI. The following years also, we saw a continual downward slide, but I think Director Comey opened some doors that were not good for the Bureau. We got to get back to that old time FBI. We got to get back to the time of the G-Man and when the FBI was trusted and revered by all people.
Fidelity, bravery, integrity. I know you brought that to the job every day. Your reputation is impeccable inside the halls of that great agency. Chris Paiota, great to have you on today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Have a great evening.
You as well. Folks, go get this book, Want It, the FBI Once Knew. It is a fantastic book. If you want to understand how you fix it, start with that book. It's a great roadmap. All right, after the break, President Trump took that major step to decrease America's reliance on foreign countries for our key drugs. We're going to tell you more about that and the senator who helped push it through. We'll have that right after these messages. Hey, America, the digital dollar is coming. It's moving faster than most Americans realize. Right now, 134 countries covering 98% of global GDP are developing programmable digital currencies. These aren't just new forms of money. They're built to track everything you do and control how you spend it. China already has 260 million people using their version, which can expire if it's not spent in time. This isn't innovation. It's the end of financial privacy. According to the Bank for International Settlements, these digital currencies will allow governments to monitor every single transaction in real time, and the IMF has confirmed they can be programmed to limit what people can buy and how their money's used. That's why our friends at American Alternative Assets created an urgent new guide. It's called The Digital Dollar Trap: How CBDCs Threaten Your Financial Freedom. It lays out 7 ways these currencies could strip away your freedom and explains why precious metals may be your best choice to opt out before it's too late. Call 855-GOLD-340 or visit johnlikesgold.com to get your free guide. That's 855-465-3340 or visit my site, johnlikesgold.com. Now protect your money before surveillance becomes total and escape is no longer an option.